Okay, so like I said, we're talking about setting up your project board. Okay. In this case, we're using Azure DevOps. And we'll be looking at what a project board is. We'll know the purpose for it. Why do we need a project board? What is Azure DevOps itself? And then we would go into the practical aspect of setting up a project board just to show us how it is done. Okay, so a project board is they're just centralized resources, and they provide visuals and transparency for a team's workflow. It helps to increase the effectiveness in managing the work that they do. So they are collaborative tools. Is a tool where the team helps the team to collaborate properly what they are doing. Like I said, visibility is important for any team, and transparency is also important for any team. And you're able to track the progress of your workflow on a project board. Okay, so the one we'll specifically be using, or you'll be using during the internship, is the Azure DevOps project board. And Azure DevOps is a website that can be accessed, through a web browser, which provides a set of integrated features that can be used in planning, developing, and maintaining software development lifecycle. So you're creating a project, a software project, even when it's a service and all that. It's where you're able to manage the life cycle of that project or that services, because you remember when Ayo was talking about a project, he said it's something that you do for a particular time. So it has a start time and it has to have an end time. So the life cycle of that project that is being managed can be done on Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps is a cloud computing platform. It is owned by Microsoft, and then it can be accessed anywhere in the world because it's cloud computing. And then it just provides the opportunity for every member, to be able to work together, like I said, collaboratively, and then gives that transparency, the visibility of how the work is being carried out, so that it helps the team to, plan better, to collaborate better, especially at this time where we have hybrid type of working. You go to office some days, you work at home some days, and some even work fully remote. So I can be working from India, my team member can be in Canada, another team member can be in the UK, and all that. For us to be able to work collaboratively, for us to be able to be effective in what we're doing, we need that collaborative tool. And that is what Azure DevOps provide for you. Now, Azure DevOps is not the only collaborative tool you have. Another one is Jira, but the one we're using in the internship or on BlueSky Citadel is Azure DevOps. And like I said, the provider for that resource tool is Microsoft. Okay. So for the purpose of tonight, these are the areas we're going to cover. And that's why Laomi said it's quite long, but don't worry, I'll try not to lose you too much. So we'll create a board, a project board. We'll invite our members onto that board. We'll create what we call an inherited process. I'll explain why we need to do that. We'll change the team process, so the created inherited process. So your process normally comes by default in a particular process, and then you're able to change your own process, your team's board, into a particular process, which is the inherited process that you're going to create. We'll set up the dashboard, we'll update the default settings that we have on that board. We'll do the team configuration, we'll update work items, layouts, and states. Just do some configuration and customization to make it, work and to suit the team regarding what we need to do. So it comes by default. We just need to, change some few things and all that. So those are all the ones that you can see. Configure the project board itself, configure the PBI, customize our work items, create and add widgets to our dashboard, getting widgets from extension. Where can I get widgets from that suits my team and all that? We'll look into that. We'll try and create a wiki page. I'll tell us what a wiki page is when we get to that stage. And then we'll try and set up a retrospective board. So by the time we finish setting all this up, remember we said it's a collaborative tool. All those, I know you saw the demo on Wednesday that was done, and you could see that everything that was done during that demo workshop was done on a particular board. That is an Azure DevOps project board that was done on. So for everyone that was participating in that role play, they were not all based in one location. Everybody was in their house and all that, but you could see that they could run the project, they could discuss about the project because they all have access to that project board, and that's what we're trying to explain to us tonight, so to say. Okay, so um let's go into it. So before we go into that, for every organization, once you become part of that organization, there's some few things they will take from you, collect from you some details, just as I want to believe Blue Sky has done with you. And once your details have been collected and all that, you will receive um an email. Okay, so is the kind of email you receive is something like this. That email will be sent to you by Azure DevOps itself, and what that email will be telling you is that you've been invited to Azure DevOps, and they will tell you the link. They will send you a link, just as you see on the board that says join your organization at. It will send that link to you, and when you click on that link, you just follow the process and everything, and you're able to. So once you've done that, where you get to after that would be, okay, so this is the URL that would show you that you're at the right place. Now, when you're seeing this image, after following the directions, that after clicking that link from your email, and you follow the process and everything, it gets to this point where you have, oops, something went wrong. Nothing went wrong. It's just because your project board has not been created yet, and you've not been added to a project. So once you're here, just believe that you are the gateway. You're already in Azure, you're the gateway. The only thing is that you're not on the project board yet. And that is why it's saying, oops, there's something wrong. So for anyone who is joining the internship for the first time, that is, if you are not a returnee, that's what I meant. You will get to this point. Once you get to this point, please don't be alarmed, don't worry, and all that. Once your Scrum Masters for your team set up your board, collect your details, and put it onto the board and all that, you will have access to your project board. Why you will see this right now is because even though you're on the organization, because we've sent that email out to you, or almost all of you also have been added to the organization as your DevOps organization already. The only thing you're not getting yet is you're not being put on the project board yet, because that is be done by your Scrum Master, and that's why we're having this session tonight. So once you see this, something went wrong, nothing went wrong, you're on the right track. Just be patient enough for your Scrum Master to do the right thing, and then you'll be able to access your board, if that's okay with everyone. I just thought I should quickly put that in. If you're seeing it already, don't be bothered. Okay, so we're just going to quickly go on the board now. I just want to bring up the Azure DevOps board, and then we will go into what we need to do. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Bear with. Okay, so this is me in the organization's Azure DevOps. Okay, so if you look at the URL, you can see that that was the URL I showed us earlier on. And why you just need to check this is to know that you're on the right you're in the right place where you're supposed to be. So most times I'll advise you that once you have a URL, once you click on it and you do anything you need to do, just cross-check it again. It's just so that you're aware that you've done the right thing, or you're in the right place you're supposed to be. So this is the Azure DevOps BlueSky Citadel team, Azure DevOps organization. You can see it there. Okay, and what you need to do. So for the Scrum Masters, once you start, then the first thing you want to do is you want to create a project, but you want to create a project on Azure DevOps for your team. Okay. I'm going to be doing a lot of description, and I'm going to also beg us that if it's possible, just follow my cursor, because that I will check it a bit so that at least you know where I am at any point in time. So if you go to your right, the top right over here, you can see an highlighted box saying new project with a plus. Okay, so you want to create a project board, that is where you go to, and then you click on it. So once I click on it, it will bring up this little window for you, and then you can see there saying project name. So I'm going to use this intern set as our project name. I'm going to say the February. I'm just going to shut that. Okay, it's not going to allow me to do that. February 2025 internship is the name of our uh, project board. Okay, so your team name might be what you put there. Some use their project name as what you put there, but we just want to put a name there. So that's the name. The description would be what your team is all about. Okay, so if you don't know what your team is all about at the start of you creating your project, is a box that you can complete later on. So you don't have to, it's not a do or die, or it will stop you if you don't complete it. Okay, so but for the purpose again, for the session we're having tonight, I'm just going to make that description Azure DevOps project setup. Or let me say project board setup. Okay. So let's just call it that, Azure DevOps project board setup. So we've put the name there, and then if you come to the next place here, there are two types of projects on Azure DevOps. You have, there are two types of visibility. You have the public visibility, and then you have the private visibility, and it's telling you what each of them means. So public visibility is anyone on the internet can view, they can have access to the project. Once they have the URL, they're able to have access to that project. Okay, and then the other one is the private one. So only the people you give access will have access to view this project. So for this one, even if they have the URL, they might need to sign in. Do you understand? To have access. Now, not only signing in, they might need to be have been added to the organization for them to be even have access. So if they've not been added to that organization, they wouldn't even have access to it. Whereas the public one, you don't need to be added to the organization. You don't even need to sign in. All you need to do is, it's a public one. You have the URL, and you're just able to logging into it or signing into it. So by default, it activates the public one for you. So I wasn't the one that clicked it. This comes by default, and you just want to leave it at that because this is a private one. Okay, so it's not a public one. So it's a private one exclusively to BlueSky Citadel, and that's why we're going to leave it at that, activated at that. So we want to go to the advanced section here. If you click on this one, it gives you the drop down, and then you have the version control. So by default, also the version control comes as Git, and we want to leave it at that. We're not going to change it. I think they've even removed the other control. They've updated it. So it used to have 𝐂𝐓 before. They've removed that and they've just left it at Git because that's what they are using right now, or placing. Because I said earlier on that is a cloud computing. Before it used to be server based in an organization, and I think that was when it was using the other version control, but right now it's using Git. So that's what it is, and that's, you can see that that's even the only thing that is there, so you can't even pick another option. But when you come to the work item process over here and you click on the drop down, you'll have different uh process there. So the process we want to pick is the Scrum process, because you're a Scrum team. You're working with Agile, so you're a Scrum team. So we want to pick the Scrum process. That's the process we want to pick. And once you've picked that, at the bottom over here, you see create is highlighted in blue. So we're going to create our project board right now. So that's the first set that we need to do. So if I click on that, it's going to create that process. The board for us. Okay, so that's our board. The board is created already. Okay, so before we go into the next set, quickly, do we all understand? I don't just want to talk for maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and then afterwards, when we ask for question, I'm taking all the way back. Okay, so because I'm sharing my screen, I won't see what you're putting on the chat. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand and then quickly ask. But we don't want to take too many questions so that we don't waste time doing that because we still have a long way to go. So does anybody have any question with the beats that I've just done right now? No? Okay, cool. That's good. All right.
Yeah,
So the next, yes,
sorry.
anyone?
Yeah, we were asking whether we can go ahead and create as a group, create the create the board as we on this lesson as a group.
You won't be able to create it. Because you need a particular account to be able to create it for an organization. Okay, so
Oh,
that's another thing. Let me explain that. So when you get into an organization, they have you is either you're working with a new team that needs a new board, or you're working with a team that has a board already. So you join an organization as a Scrum Master and you're put on a team. The team has a board already. Maybe the project is in the mid management of their project already. The project has started already. You're just joining. They have a board already. Okay. So you will just, if they're using, let's assume they're using, even if they're using Jira or they're using Azure DevOps and all that, why we go through this with almost all our intents is we want you to know how a board runs from scratch. So you're joining, you've told them, I have this experience, I can do this and that and everything. And maybe the team members are getting in touch with you and say, oh, we need to do this. Or can you do this on the board for us? Ask the Scrum Master and all that. You won't be asking them, oh, sorry, where do I go to get that? That's why you're having this information and knowledge right now. So that once they tell you, because you familiarize yourself with it during the internship, you know where things are, you can easily go there and do that and everything. Now, in every organization, they don't just allow people to just, come on and then just start pressing things and everything and all that. There will be a level of permission that will be given to your account. You understand? For you to be able to do one thing or the other that you want to do. Okay, so because I'm admin for BlueSky Citadel interns, there are some things I can do and all that. Even when you're added to your project, the project, create project and all that will be grayed out. You won't be able to see. And that's because you don't have the permission to be able to do that. Okay. So there will be some things you're not able to do. So please don't set up anything as I'm going on right now. Because like allow me explain, you'll still be putting the project, your team. Even if you've been putting your team already, you still need the list of your team members and everything to be able to do things. Just let's take the session all the way to the end and all that. By the time you know all the other Scrum Master that you will be working with is a collaborative effort. One person shouldn't do it. Or if you have two or three Scrum Masters in your internship team, let me clarify that now, because in the workforce out there in your Scrum team, it will be just be you alone. But for the purpose of the internship, we might have more than one Scrum Master in the team. So you need to work together, collaboratively together to be able to create that board. Okay. So let's just enjoy the session as we go along. Don't try and create as I'm doing it right now, if that's
Um,
okay.
yes, I'm sorry. I just want to ask a very quick question. So it is safe to say that it is the responsibility of the Scrum Master to set up this board, right?
Yeah, in organizations is different. So some
In real,
organizations is the Scrum Master that would do it. Yes, some organization is the infrastructure team because they want to control things that would do it. But like I said, for a Scrum Master, it's better it's best for you to know it. You can get to some organization, you're not the one doing it, it's their infrastructure. You get to another organization, they expect you to do it. That's why you're having the basic knowledge right now. So wherever you find yourself, and you're confident that if it's down to you to do it, you can do it. If it's down to you to do one thing or the other, you know where things are on the board.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so that is the creation of the board. So the next thing we want to do is to add our team members onto your project board. So this is the project board, and we want to add the team members to it. Again, I'm going to the top right corner. At the top here, you can see invite. So what he's saying is that you should invite your members. Now, remember I said earlier on that every member has been added already. onto the organization, the BlueSky Citadel team organization, what you're doing is you're inviting them now from that pool, you're pulling them from that into your project board. So when you click on invite, it's going to wait for you to, get the names or the email, depending on what you want to use. So with your team members, you'll be getting you'll be collecting their email, because some might have the email, they have the invite to join the organization, the Azure DevOps organization, but they've not done it yet. So it's better to collect their email address to add them, to invite them, rather than their names. But however, whatever you type in, you would get their names popping up if they've done it or not. So okay, so I'm going to pick Allow Me. If I type Allow Me is part of my team, and if I start typing her name, because she's part of the organization, you can see that coming up. So I'm going to add her as a user, as a member of my project. I'm going to add Uzo as a member of my project, because they're part of the organization already. I'm going to add, who else should I add now? I'm going to add thinking. Yes, let me add Deji as part of my organization. Okay. I'm adding who should I? Let me add Rita. Okay, let me add the names that you're used to. Let's add people that were part of the demo that you watched on. Geez, I'm not sure if Vivian is on the board. Yes, she is. So that's Vivian. I'm going to put a date on G also. I believe he's here also. Yes. And who else was? I think Bimbola should be there also. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just picking names so that we have an understanding. Yeah. So that's how you add your team members onto the board. So once you've added everyone, and then all you do is to come to the bottom of that panel on the right that opened up, and then just click add. Okay, so we're just going to see what's going to happen in a few minutes. They're all going to be added. You can see them all being added here. So initially, before I invited them, it was just me who created the board that was there. Now, once I've added them, you can see all their initials coming in there. Okay, so 8 people now are part of the team for this project board. So that's how you add your member. There are 2 ways you can do it. This is one of the ways you can do it. The other way we can do it, I'll show us later on, but this is one of the ways that you can add your member to the board quickly. Any question on that before we move to the next thing? None? Okay, good. So the next thing we want to do is what I called inherited process. Now I'll explain why we need to do inherited process. So there is a process we picked. That process, remember when we were creating the board, was Scrum process. And we are doing inherited process. What you do with inherited process is to create a process out of that main process you have. So you have a main process which is called Scrum. You're creating a branch, so to say, out of it, out of that. And why you're doing that is such that in case you need to customize anything on your project board, you're not customizing it on the main Scrum process. That's why you're creating an inherited process, so that whatsoever you customize, or whatsoever configuration or customization you do on your project board does not affect the main Scrum process. Because what happens is, for every team that is on that Scrum process, if you customize or configure anything, it affects other project boards. And you don't want to do that. That's why you create an inherited process and put your project board on that inherited process. So whatsoever customization you do is limited to your project board. It doesn't affect other projects that are being created. That's why we create an inherited process, and that's what we want to do now. So to create an inherited process, you go to the organization, or let me go to your project settings. Let's take it from your project settings so that you don't affect other things. So once we come here, you can see over here, if you can see my cursor, so there's a tiny left panel here. There is another panel here that says project settings. That's where we're going to do most of the settings and change from defaults that we want to do. And then over here where you have your project details, you can see the name of our project, the description I talked about, and then you can see the process we are on. The process we chose when we were creating the project was Scrum process. Okay, so that is the process we chose. So for us to change this process, what we need to do is to click on this. It's showing us Scrum. So if we click on that Scrum, okay, so it's showing us all the things that we want to see. It's showing us the work items, backlog levels, projects. So it's showing us the projects that are under that Scrum. That Scrum process now has all these projects on it, and you can see our own project. That is our own project, okay, on it. That's our own project on it. Now there is an highlighted information here. It says system processes cannot be customized. To add customization, create an inherited process, which is what I just explained to us. So for us to create an inherited process, two ways. You can click here to go and create your inherited process, yeah, or you can come on that board here. You can see another information here that says process, and create and click from here. So let's assume tomorrow Microsoft decides to remove this aspect of things. Let's keep to the ones we're aware of, which we know of, which is the one here. So if we click on the left panel, if you click on the process there, okay, so these are all the processes. You can see all processes that you have. The main process that comes with Azure DevOps really is the basic, as you can see by default, is basic, is agile, is Scrum, and CMMI. It should be somewhere there. All these other ones you're seeing, Alta, Gamma, they are inherited processes that have been created by project teams. Okay, so and we want to create ours. Remember the one we're under is Scrum. Yeah, and you can see that that's the one that's big, is Scrum. So if I close all these up now, just to kind of not confuse us and everything, I'm going to close all this also. So these are just the four that comes with the Azure DevOps: Basic, Agile, Scrum, and CMMI. They are the ones that come with Azure DevOps and all that. And our own process is over here. So this is where we want to create our inherited process from Scrum. Now, if I don't hover over it, you can see that I'm not saying anything, but if you put your cursor over there and everything, and you can see these ellipses, these three dots are called ellipses. You click on that ellipses, you can see create inherited process. So that's what we want to do. We want to create inherited process. So you can click on that. Once we click on that, it's going to give us this window, and it's asking us for the process name. What do we want the process name to be? So we're going to use our project name to create our process so that we can move it onto it. And our project name was February. So we're going to put everything together. We won't space it. So it's February 2025 internship. So that's our process. That's the name of our process. The description is optional. You might put a description, you might not put the description. If you feel led to put the description, you can just say to customize. Teams, projects, board. Okay. So let's just put it at that, and then we create our process. Okay. The once that is done, I'm going to show us where it is on the. Make sure it's created. Let's go to the bottom. Let me refresh that. The process should be somewhere here, should be February. F. Yeah, that's our process. February 2025 internship. Now, I want us to notice something. So That's the inherited process we've created. That's the description we gave it. But if you look here, there's no project on it yet. That's because even though we've created it, we've not moved our project away from the Scrum process and bring it onto this inherited process that we've created. So it's one thing for you to create an inherited process, is another thing for you to remember to move your project from the Scrum process and bring it onto your inherited process. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So if I go back to this Scrum, where our project is, and then I go on to the projects that are under it. I'm going to click on that. You can see that's our project, the February 2025 internship. Now click on the ellipsis in front of it again. If we do that, it's asking you to change the process. Okay, it's giving you the option to change your process, and we're going to say yes, because that's what we want to do. We want to change the process, and then it gives you every inherited process or other processes that you have that you can change to. So we're just going to look for our own there. We know it's Feb 2025 internship. So we're going to click on that. That's what we want to change to. And then we'll tell it to save it. Okay, so you see it says complete. This project is now using the inherited process that we've created. And then we're going to close it. Okay, so this is still Scrum. Yeah, but if you look at it, there is no February 2025 internship underneath anymore, because we've moved it to our own process. So we're going to go to our own process now. So if I go to all processes again here, and then look for February 2025, now you see that initially there was 0 underneath it. Now we should have our project under it. Okay, so you can see our project that we've moved on it is there. If you still want to be sure if that's your project that is underneath it, click on the process, go to the project, and then you see your project underneath it. So that's how you create your inherited process. But most importantly, apart from creating it, is to ensure that you actually move your project from the main process, which is Scrum, and move it onto your inherited process. So this is not limited to just the Scrum process. It could be from the basic process. It could be from the Agile process. It could be from the CMMI project and other. But this is how you create an inherited process on Azure DevOps, and then make sure that you move your project from where it is onto your inherited process, so that you don't make the mistake of, like we said, customizing things on a main process. Any question before we go to the next thing we need to do? Any question? None? All right, so we're just going to go on our project board again. We want to start the customization now that we know that our process has changed to where we want it to be. Again, another check-in confirmation point for you is over here. Initially, it was Scrum. You can see now that because we've changed it, it's now showing us the inherited process that we've created, that we've put it on. Okay, so that's that. So the next thing we want to do is we want to quickly, before we go to the next thing, also let me just show us how again you can add member to your team. Okay, so on the left panel over here, apart from the overview, this is just your project overview, the one showing you the project details, the name, the description, and all that. The next one to it is the team. So let's assume you want to add member to your board now. Remember, we're just 8 initially on it. If you click on this, your project name, let's click on that. It gives you the lowdown of everyone that has been added, your team members that has been added. You can see those are the names of everyone that I've added. Those are their email addresses. Okay, so those are your team members. Now, if you want to add somebody new to your project and all that, if you go to overview, you might not see that invite anymore. It might still be there. Let's go. Let's see, so that I'm not. So you can see that that invite we picked on the left when the project was just newly created is no longer there. So let's assume you've added about 4 or 5 people, and then you have a new team member joining, and you need to add them to your board. All you need to do is to go to your project settings. Once you get to your project settings, okay, let me go back to our project and then show us how we can, because I want us to see how we can do the project settings. So the invite is still there. If you go back through the top here, but if you don't want to do that, if you just go to your project settings is at the bottom of your left panel. If you click on that, and then you go to Teams, the second one on your left panel. You need to click on, before you can add, don't go and click on new team, because you're not creating a new team. You're just adding your team members to your team. So this is your team. This is your project. This is your team. So you can only add new member with this add. You can see. If I click on it, the same thing it gave us earlier on is going to give us, where you're able to put their names on it and then click on save at the bottom. So once you start typing somebody's name, the save would be activated, and then you're able to save once you finish. So I'm just going to cancel that because I don't want to add anybody to it. So this is another way that you can see all your team members that has been added to your project. Okay, so we're not going to touch on permission. Most times permission is locked down because you're not giving permission to anybody. You're not tampering with permission. That is the that is being used by the management of the organization themselves. So you might not even be able to do anything on that. Notification is just maybe when Azure developers, this is another one that you don't come into. Permission and notification, service hooks, those are the things that has nothing to do with you as a Scrum Master. So from adding your members and from creating your inherited process, the next place you want to go to is your dashboard. Okay, so we need to activate our dashboard. By default, it's not activated. Okay, so you have three toggles here. The first one is create. Yes, you want to create a dashboard, so you're going to activate that. And the other one is to edit the dashboard. Yes, you're going to activate that. The only one you don't want to activate is to delete the dashboard. Now, why you're not activating this is you don't want a situation where your team members are able to, somebody be on the dashboard and all that and mistakenly click on delete. It's not because they want to delete it by mistake and all that. And then every chart and all that you've created on that dashboard is gone. And once it's deleted, it's deleted. This is not like Word document or Excel where you do back and then it brings everything back. So you don't want to activate this one at all. You don't want to turn it on at all so that nothing is deleted by mistake. But definitely you want to create your dashboard, so you turn that on. Definitely you want to edit what is on your dashboard and all that, you turn that on. But please leave the delete the dashboard. Don't turn that on. Don't enable it. Just leave it disabled the way it is. So after that, the next thing we want to do is now to reset the defaults that we have on the project. And then we're going to go to project configuration. So these are part of why we did the inherited process. We want to do some configurations now that is just limited to our project alone. So you can see that the organization have set up some things already. You can see sprint 1 to sprint 6 that has been set up by the organization already and all that. So here you don't kind of do anything, you don't move or change anything. And then if you look at that's for your iterations. So your iterations are the same thing as your sprints. Okay. And then you go to the area also. We don't want to disturb the area. Our area is our project. That's our area. Okay. So that's the area path. So we don't want to touch that or do anything to that. We don't want to change it. We don't want to edit it or do anything to it. So it's showing us the right thing. So after that, you go to your team configuration. That's where there's some things by default that we need to kind of correct. So the first thing we want to do is you want to look at your backlog navigation level. Okay, so this talks to you being able to add your epic to the feature and also to link it to your backlog items. Okay, which would be your product backlog item. Don't worry, by the time you start your sprint and all that, you will understand. But the BAs want to be able to say, this is the epic, this is the big initiative, this is the project initiative, and these are the things that needs to come under it. Remember when we were talking about Agile, we did say that Agile breaks big work into small chunks that is manageable and they're able to work on it within a sprint. Now that is what this navigation level is all about. It's about that big initiative work that you need to do. How can we break it down? You break it down to a feature and then you break it down again to a backlog item. So by default, it's just the feature and the backlog items that are enabled. You can see that. So you have to enable the Epic also, so that you want them to be able to link together when you're doing what you need to do. So that's the first one we need to do. The working days is Monday to Friday, so you're leaving it at that. You don't add the Saturday and Sunday to it. You leave that the way it is, and then you have working with bugs here. So by default, the first one is the one that has been enabled. It says bugs are managed with requirements, and that is what you want to do. You want your BAs to be able to look at requirements when they are carrying out their test and they're looking at the acceptance criteria. You want them to be able to raise their bugs based on the requirements. So that is the one we're going to leave it with. There is the other one. It says bugs are managed with tasks. So this is talking about them being able to raise the bugs with the task rather than the requirements. The requirement also, your requirements are put on your user stories or product backlog item. So that's why we're leaving it at that. And then this one says bugs are not managed on backlog or and board, but your QAs are working with you and all that. So you would definitely want your bugs to be managed. And that's why we're leaving it with the one that came by default, which is bugs are going to be managed with your requirements. Is the saying your requirement is as good as saying your user stories, because your user story is the container that is carrying the requirement or the request that is coming from the client that owns the project, or the project sponsor, so to say, or the product team. Let me put it that way. Okay, so once we're done with all that, and that's for general, you can see that is the general that is highlighted here. So these are the things that are under general that has been sorted. We want to go to iterations now. That's another page. We want to go to that. And then once we go to that, again, you can see that for the iteration is listed, it is picked our area path, which is our project, and it's saying your project slash sprint one, your project slash sprint two. The only thing it has not done is it has not set the date, the start date and the end date, but it has stated what your iterations are going to be, or your sprint that has been listed already. And that is because, like I said, the organization has done some customization already, so that by the time you start your project, things start, kind of aligning together once you create your own project board and once you give it a name. Okay, so one of the things we want to change the default here is the default iteration. So here it says at current iteration, and what this means is that for any work item, for any user story that the BAs create, they go automatically into the sprint, the current sprint. That's what happens. So let's assume you're in sprint one and you're working on the things in sprint one and everything, and the BAs are creating user stories that are meant to be for sprint two. If we don't change these defaults, all the stories they are creating will be going into sprint one, into any current sprint, while they are creating that story. So they are creating that story during sprint one. The work items or the user story they are creating is just going into the sprint. And then you're wondering, okay, so we started this sprint with 4 user stories and we're seeing 8 user stories. When you're thinking, oh, when did we agree to make it 8? You didn't agree to make it 8. It's because this default was not changed. So automatically it will just be adding things into your sprint. Okay, so we're going to change that and put that to be in your backlog. So your project's name over here represents your backlog. So we're just going to click on that. And that is us changing that default setting. And once you've done that, you're not just going to leave it. You need to click on set. Set is like saying save. So we click on set, you can see that it has changed that. So it's put it on the backlog. So that means whatsoever the BAs are creating goes into the backlog. That is what we're saying. It doesn't come into the sprint. It stays in the backlog where it's meant to be. So that is the first configuration we want to do, to say that that stays in the backlog. Okay, so that has been done. We don't need to change the one at the bottom. That one is okay. It's just this one that is on current iteration that we need to change. Okay, so if we also go to area, we don't need to do anything. Like I said, your default area is your project. So all we just want to know is that we're on the right area and everything, and you leave it at that. Now, because one is just one team on this project board, that's why we're not changing anything. Let's assume that we have about 2 or 3 teams on one project board, then you might need to change this, because if it comes by default that the first team that created the board is the one it has picked, if another team is part of that board, they might need to change this to their own team. Do you understand? And not the default team. So that's why we're going to leave this at this, because it's just one team per board. Okay. So in some organizations, you have more than one team on the board. That's if you have maybe 2 teams or 3 teams working on a particular project. They will have one project board, and then they will just have different team having a board, having being part of that board, but they have their own separate board also. So those are the ones that might need to do changes to this. Okay. So we leave this the way they are, and then we're not tampering with any template. We're not doing anything to the template and all that. So we're not going to come here to change anything. We're not adding new templates and all that. So we're just going to leave this the way they are. Okay, so any questions on this one also before we go to the next thing we need to do? Are we all okay with this also? Good. That means we're going along as we're going. So the next thing we want to do also is to ensure that we're able to add some columns. So let's go to, before we go to our board, I just want us to quickly configure the work items also. So for us to be able to configure our work items, we need to go to let me see. No, the right part. We need to go back to our process. Okay, so to go back to our process, we just go to overview at the top here. We can see the process here. We click on our process. Okay, and then we can see the work item type. So these are the things that I said we need to be able to, we want to configure them or customize them in such a way that we're able to do some things when we get on our board. I don't want us to go on the board first and then come back here to do this. So for us to be able to do that, what we want to do over here is the first one we want to pick. So for mostly for yourself, you'll be working with your product backlog items. That is where your requirements sit in. That you'll be working with the task, and then you'll be working with the bug. So we're not going to customize the epic. We're not going to customize the feature. We're just going to customize our product backlog item, the task, and then the bug. Okay, so I want to pick the product backlog item first. Okay, we want to look at the layout. Is there anything we want to add to the layout? So this is the layout of your product backlog items. These are the things that are in it, in your product backlog items. And we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, we want to add some fit to it. We want to be able to see who the BA is. We want to be able to see who the dev is, to have their names and everything in the layouts. So for us to do that, you come over here. I hope you can see my cursor moving and where I'm going. You come to your left over here at the top here where you have new field. So if I click on the new field, it's going to pop up, bring up this pop-up for me. And then it's telling me to create the field that I want. So peradventure, I think there is an existing field that we can use. Okay, so if it has been done prior, we should be able to pick it. If it's not, we create a new one. So if I go to existing field, what I want is to have a BA so that we know the name of our BA. You can see that it's already there before. So we're just going to pick that, and then we're going to tell it to add that field. Okay, so if I click on add field, you can see that it's put it there. That's a new field that has been created. So I want to create another one for the developer. And then again, if I go to existing, because there would have been teams that have used it before. So you can see developer is there. I'm going to add that field to it also, and you see it popping up immediately. And then another field I want to add is the QA. Again, I'm going to use the existing field. If I do QA, it's there already, and then I do add to it. So you can see that we've added a session for the BA, we have added a session for the developer, and then we've added a session for the QA. So let's assume in your project, you will be working with the DAs also, okay? So we just want, to have around so that the DAs don't feel we're leaving them out of, the fun, kind of. So we add that to it also, and then we have the DAs there also. Okay, so once that is done, we want to go to the state also. So the layout is the first one we've done, which is over here. Want to go to the state also. Maybe we want to add some states to it. So by default, the state you have is just new, approved, committed, done. Done is when it's completed, and then you'll have removed. Those are the states you have in your backlog item, your product backlog item. Okay, so we want to add some states to it also that will be working. We want to customize our product backlog item to have some states also that are more than these states that are stated here. Okay, and that is going to go with what we have on our board. We're going to be able to see all those things also on our board, when we're checking our board, or when we go and create the board later on. I'll tell you why all those things we're doing, where they are going to come into, later on. I would let us know once we get there, to say this that we did, this was what we're trying to achieve with it. Just be patient with me and let's go along. Okay, so when you click on the state, we want to look at the name of the state. So what state do we want to create? We want to create a state in such a way that when the BAs are working, it's showing that, it's the B is for the BA. We want to show the state that it's the BA, depending on what you want to customize it to be. But that's what we want to call it. Okay. So we'll click in BA. That shows us, okay, the BAs are the ones that are working on it. Now, when it's in the BA, the category is not, let me click that out. The state category is not in progress, because the BAs work before the sprint starts. They work prior to the sprint starting. I want to believe that the BAs have been told one or two things about that. So the category this would be is proposed. You are writing that requirement. Your product owner is going to approve it before the team can work on it. Even though you've elicited the requirements from them, by the time you write it, you want to be sure that it's what they said that you've written, get it approved. So it's still on the proposed category. It's not on the in progress category, which is after we've committed to it and we've started working with it. So that's what this is. You can decide to change the color, but I just want to leave the color as gray because we've not started work on it. So I want to leave the color as gray, and then we click create. Okay, so you can see that coming over here. You can see it coming over here. Let me try and see if I can move that to go to the top, move up, because I want it to come before approve. Okay, so you can see it going there. Another state that I want to create is a state when the BAs are finished working. So I'm going to call that BA done. There's another state we want to create. It's still in the proposed stage. Okay, I'm still leaving the color as gray, and then I'm going to click create again. So you can see it's pushed the approve up again. So I want them to go up, and then I want the BA done also to go up before they approved. So what I'm doing, if you're seeing, is how you're going to work. What we're trying to customize on this board is the workflow. You're trying to help your team to have a workflow, things that would be make their work seamless and effective, so to say. So the BA starts working, so they can see the state is, it's in BA, and then once they are done, the BAs are done with it, and then once the BAs are done with it, the product owner approves it. After they've approved it is when we have the sprint planning, refinement session, and sprint planning. And then the next thing you have is committed. The team will commit to it that this is what we want to work on. So after the team has committed to it, what is the next state we want to see? So we're going to click on new state again. Once is committed, the first person that picks it up to work on it is the developer. So we want in dev to show us that, okay, in dev means that is when the devs are working on it. In progress, work for the devs. Okay, so because it's in progress, that's what I've just said. That's the category that comes under. You can see that the color has changed from gray to blue, and that is the active color for most boards and all that. So you want to leave it at that blue, and then we want to create that. So you can see that that is not coming under the proposed, it's gone under the in progress because that is the category that it belongs to. So we want to create another. So I'm just going to be fast with this. So just know that we're just creating the state of our workflow. That's dev done. That means developer done, still in progress. We create that. And then we want to create another one. Okay, so to make this a bit interactive, once the developer is done with what they are doing, who do you think is the next person that picks something to do? At least with the
QA.
demo that you watched, who's the next person that
QA.
will QA? Good. So we have in QA. Yeah. So that is still in progress. So we create that. It's still blue. It's still in progress. And then the next thing would be what? Looking at the pattern which we've been working. After in QA, what will be the next thing? Anyone? Okay, that will be QA
QA
done.
done.
Yeah, good. So it should be QA done, still in progress. Okay, and then you can see it's aligning and all that. And then after QA, you have UAT. So again, UAT is what the BAs do to check that everything is aligning with what they've written in the user story or backlog. So you have in QA, in UAT. So it depends. Some just have one one state for UAT. And then they know that once the UAT is done and everything, you move it to done. But I like having in UAT and UAT done because if you just have UAT, you don't know when it's done. You don't know when it's still in progress. You don't know when they're done with it. So if you have another state to say UAT done, at least makes it more clear, for everyone and all that. And that is still in progress also. So after that is when you have the done. So on the completed or done aspect, you don't create anything. It's done is done. Okay, the work is completed and everything and all that. So these are the states we want to customize before we go on our board to be able to say about. And that, remember, this is just for the product backlog item. So once that is done, we've done all the state for that one. We go back to our process because we want to pick the task also. Okay, and try and add some layout also to the task. Okay, so for your product backlog item, you estimate in effort. For your task, you estimate in hours. You're able to say, oh, this particular task on this user story is going to take me these hours, to be able to do it and all that. And you want that to be recorded in your task work item. Okay, so what we do with that layout again is we add new field like we did earlier on. I'm sure we have one that has been used before, and we just want to say planned hours or planned estimated hours. So you plan to use it for these particular hours. So we want to keep that. Okay, so you can see that there. That's the planned estimated hours or just estimated hours, depending on what you want to call it. And then we want another field that will show us the actual hours also. So again, if I click on actual worked hours, you can see that there, and then we want to add that. So what this helps to do is if that developer or QA picks another similar work down the line, some few weeks down the line and all that, they have this one to come back to say, hey, I've done this before, something similar to this before. How long did it take me to do it? Yeah, they're able to track and they're able to plan better as they go along because they've kept record of this. Okay, so we want to put that there. So that's just the tool that we want to put there. We're not changing anything in the state because I think the state is good to go on the sprint board. Is just to do in progress and done. That's what you will have on your sprint backlog. That doesn't mean there's some other teams that might not want to customize that to what you want, but this is what we want to leave as basic as possible. This is what we want to leave as ours. So that is the one for the task. Now for the rules, you don't go on the rules to kind of change a lot of things, and that is why you can see that there is nothing there. It says new rules. So depending, so you don't want to customize. We're not customizing anything under the rules. So please don't come here to create any rule there. Okay, so again, we go back to the process because the next one we want to look at the next work item we want to look at, which is the last one, is the bug. Okay, so for the bug, we're not doing anything to the layout. The layout is fine the way it is. What we want to customize on the work item, the bug work item, is the state. So for the state also, just like the other ones, you can see that it has proposed and all that and everything. But the one where we want to add things to is when you come to once it's committed. Okay, so when I click on new state, what we want to see here is sorry, please bear with me. What we want to create under the state for the bug is we want to create a situation where we want it to be active, and we want to see it also when it is resolved. So for when it's active, for the name, you're just going to put active there. Okay, active is what we want to put there, and is when it is in progress that is active. And I want to change the color to red because Bob talks about defect, so I don't want to use blue for it. When it's active, I want to use a red for it. So I want to pick this red. Yeah, that looks. Let me pick a deeper one. Yes, I like that one. So and then I create it. Okay, and then that's when the bug is active and everything and all that. I want to create another state, and I want to call that state resolved. So once the bug has been resolved means it has been the developer has done what they need to do on it. They've resolved it, and they just want the QA to know that it has been resolved. So I can change this color to, let's pick orange for resolved. Okay, and then we create that one also, and all of them are still under in progress. Okay, so I'm a QA, I'm saying it that, oh, that bug has been resolved. So that means that bug has been dealt with, it has been resolved and all that and everything. And then we create the last one. So the QA picks it once it has been resolved, and then they test it. And then once they finish, they closed it. If it's okay, if the defect has been resolved by the developer, it's okay, they want to close it. All this close is still under in progress. Okay, and then I want to change the color to dark green. I don't want to pick the green that done is using or completed. So we'll pick a darker one that is quite dark. Okay, and it's still so, and then we create that. So you can see that they are all still under in progress. Okay, but it helps our team because we understand what each color means. It helps our team to know what is on. So we know that once it's closed, then it goes to the completed column. So when I'm seeing a bug that is closed in QA done, I'm asking the person that has their name on it to say, oh, sorry, that bug has been closed. Are we taking it to do? It might be because they finished it, but they're jumping on something else to go and do, and they've forgotten to take it to the completed column. So you're just checking because you understand with your team that close means there was a bug raised, it has been refixed by the developer, it has been retested, it has passed testing now, and it has been closed. Okay, so those are the customization we want to do to the state before we go to creating our board. Before we go to the board, any questions from anyone at this stage? None? Okay. All right, so we will go to our project board now, which is the main place we need to be. Let me pick our project here. And then we're going to the board now. Okay, so I'm going to open this up to help us to see better. Okay, so the first panel you have here has different things. That's the one that has the overview, where we have the project summary, we have the dashboard. That was the dashboard that we activated earlier on. We will get to it. That's the wiki, we'll get to it. I think creating the project board, customizing our board or configuring it comes first. So we want to click on, once you click on this, if you click on it here, it brings all the things that are under the board down. So you have a green square there showing boards, and then you have another smaller board here, okay, showing you about little bit of tiny circles here and all that, and that's the one we want to go into. So if I click on this one, this board here, okay, you can see the different boards, the different columns that we have. And part of it is because of the customization that we've done. Part of it might be because other projects have created, they've customized the main Scrum, and you can see that it has affected our board. So that's why we have to do configuration, remove what we don't need, put the things that we need here. Okay, so for us to do that, if you come to, please follow my cursor. If you come to the right hand corner over here, you can see this clock here, like a certain sign. You can see when I hover over it, it's saying configure team setting. So if you click on that, it's going to bring this window up for us. And where we want to go to is the board. We want to go to the columns. So on the left panel of it here, you have the card first. We're not going there first. We're coming first to where we have the columns here, because that's what we want to configure. Okay. So by the time we come here, we're able to straighten a bit of some of the things that we have there out. Okay. So these are all the columns that we have. That's the one that has been listed up there. Okay. And then we're looking at it. This is the new column. The new column is the same thing as your backlog, products backlog, where your products, the requirements sits in. Okay, so we're not going to customize that. That comes by default. That stays the way it is. And then you can see the column name already is new. The state mapping is also grayed out because it is new. And that shows us is by default. So we don't do anything to that. So remember when we were doing what we were doing earlier on, we said our workflow after new, the next thing that comes is in BA. Okay, so we want to move the in BA to come before approve. And to do that, just click on the ellipses here and then tell it where you want to move it to. So we want to move it to move to the right. You just click on that and you can see it coming to the right. And then the column name you can see is in BA. The WIP limit means work in progress. It means your work in progress limits that you want to leave there, and we want to increase that. Let's just increase that to 10. And what you're saying is 10 work items can sit in that column. That is what your work in progress limit. That is what it means. So we just want to make that 10. We don't want to split it into doing and done, because we've created a done column already. So we don't want to split that. And then if you now scroll down, okay, what we did when we were doing the customization was the state mapping. So remember that we did state mapping for product backlog item, but we didn't do for bug, because your BAs don't work on bugs. It's just your developer and your QAs that work on bugs. So the bug won't find its way in any way to the BA in BA column, or the BA column, both BA in BA or BA done. And that's why we didn't customize it at that level. But you can see that the customization we've done as you know, by automatically make our the state mapping for our product backlog items to be in BA. Now, if your team has formed your definition of done, you can put it here. You can enter it here. What it means, do you know the checklist for your BA done, which would be the BA, the business analyst definition of done, not the whole team definition of done. So it will be the BA's definition of done. It can be entered here and all that. Rather than I saving and closing and coming back, I'll just correct everything before coming to save and close. Okay, so that's done. We've checked that. We know it's displaying the way it's meant to be. And then we'll come also to BA done. We're moving that to the left also, because that's what comes after in BA. Okay, we're checking that also. The name is BA done. We want to increase the WIP limit there to 10 also. We're not splitting. Like I said, we've created different columns for them. You look down there and then you can see BA done. Because of that customization we've done at the project setting is already putting it there for us. And we know that what comes after BA done is approved, meaning that, oh, the BAs have written the requirement, they've put the wireframe, everything they need to put. Once they finish what they're doing, they put it in BA done. Once it's in BA done, they get in touch with the product owner to check it. So they can check it together. The product owner can come on the board the BA or without a meeting just to check. He's checking the things that are in BA done to say, okay, has it been written the proper way and all that and everything. If she's happy with it or he is happy with it, she moves it to approved. So what she's saying is I've signed off on that particular work item, or I've signed off on that particular product backlog item. It is ready to be worked on. Okay, so she moves it to approve. So if we look at our approve column, we're not moving it anywhere. It's where it's supposed to be. Let's just increase the WIP limit for it. And then if you scroll down, you can see that it is also in approved. Now, because a bug can be approved to be worked on in a sprint, okay, that's why you can see that even the bug has approved here as a state mapping, and then the product backlog item also has approved as a state mapping. And then the next one to that one is the committed one. Committed, again, that's the name of that column. Let's increase the WIP limit. That doesn't mean we're going to take 10 things to get to commit to. We're just increasing the WIP limit for that team. And then again, both the bug and the product backlog item state mapping is committed. In-dev was the next one we did. You can see in-dev is the name. I'm just going to make all the WIP limit uniform. I'm just going to put 10 there. Putting 10 there doesn't mean it's going to be 10. And then you can see here that we didn't change the, okay, so the product backlog item when it's in-dev is in-dev, but the bug, what we said the bug should be, is active. Okay, so once the developer is working on it, the state it will be showing is it's active. And what that means is this bug is active. This bug, we're working on it during the sprint where we're working on it. Okay, so that's what it will show in there. Want it to show active, not in dev. It will show active there. And then once we're in dev done, again, that's the name of that column. We're increasing the WIP limit. And then when we scroll down that one, once the bug is in dev done, we want it to show resolved. It's not active anymore now because she's worked on it. It's showing the state mapping resolved. The resolved is what the QAs pick and know, oh, they've resolved it. They pick it, put it in their own column in order to retest it. Okay. So once that is in resolve, you can see that for the product backlog item, it will still be dev done. Okay, well, for bug, it would be the state mapping will be showing resolved, right? And then to go to all the other columns that we have, I'm just going to scroll all the way down so that, okay, so when it comes to in QA, that's the name. Let's increase this to 10, and then the bug now in QA will still be resolved. Remember, it's still resolved, so they're just retesting it, and then the product backlog will be in QA. But when we come to QA done, increase the WIP limits, yeah, and then we scroll down to where the state mapping is, and for the bug, we want now to see closed, because the QA has retested it, everything is passing and all that, so they're closing it. If they retest it and it's still not passing, they're still seeing the defect. What they do is they put a comment on that work item, the bug work item in the discussion column, which I'll show us later on, and then return it back into in-dev so that the developer can see that whatsoever is the issue has still not been resolved. And then the state mapping for the product backlog item will be QA done. And then we have our in UAT. Okay, so once I scroll down there, I'll tell you. Normally, once the bug has been closed by the QA, like I said, the QAs don't move the bug into UAT. You don't do UAT on the bug. BAs don't do UAT on a bug. What the BAs UAT means you're testing. Okay, you're testing the acceptance criteria that it is passing. That is what you're testing, and there's no acceptance criteria in your bug. So what they do testing on is actually this. But in case that bug somehow finds its way into the UAT, okay, we're just going to put close there, but normally it's not meant to find its way into that column at all. So once the QA finishes and they put close to it, they're meant to take it all the way to the completed column. For peradventure, by mistake, somehow it finds its way into UAT. If the BAC closed on it in the UAT, at stand up, they can just say, oh, or send a message, send a message to the QA that this finds its way here. I think it's meant to go into the completed column. Oh, yeah. I wanted to take it to the completed column, and then they take that to the completed column. So that shows you that I just want us to know that the BAs don't carry out UAT tests on a bug. They only do that on the product backlog item. Okay. And then for UAT done, let's just put this as closed again. And then your product backlog item, UAT done, that will be in UAT done also. Okay. And then these active and all that are the ones that have come from other teams that have created things. Like I said, so we need to remove all these. They are not part of our state mapping. So all you do is remove. Because after our UAT done, what we should have next is the last column, which is the done. So we're removing any column that is not meant to be part of our project column. So after in UAT done, the last one is the done. And for the done, again, just like the new, is grayed out, because once anything is there as done, the state mapping it to be showing you is done. Okay, so that is that for the column that we need to set up. Quickly, before we leave here, before we save and close, we just want to go on the cards also. So for the cards, it's talking about the fields that you're meant to be seeing in the cards, either the product backlog or the bug. Okay, so you can see that they are the tools that you have there: product backlog item and the bug. So the highlighted one in blue is showing the one for the product backlog item, and that is the one that we quickly want to just customize the fields. Those are the fields that we want to see when we're working, on that particular work item. So we want to, by default, it's enabled us. It's enabled the show ID. It's enabled show assigned to as the avatar and the full name, which we'll see later on. It's enabled show effort, which is your estimation. It's enabled show tags. There are times when you want to tag a particular story. It shows that. And then it's put some few ones here, just state alone. So we're just going to add more fields of the things that we want to see. So let me just add about I just want to add, rather than scrolling back up and down, if we don't need them, we'll delete them. Okay, so by default it's put state there. Yes, we want to see the state of that. Other things we want to see includes things like the area path, so that we know that, okay, this is the right project that we're working on. So we put the area path there. Later on, once we save and close, I'll show us what I'm talking about. We also want to see things like it's put assigned to at the top, so we're not going to put assigned to there. We want to see the board column on the card. We want to see things like created by, who created the story. So we want to see created by, I think that's there somewhere, created by. So we want to see it. We want to see things like iteration path. We want it to show us the sprint we're in. Okay, let me just use this one. So we want to see created by, effort is there by the default, so I'm not going to add that. So we want to see that. We want to see we can see the parent also. When you see the parent, that means you want to see the feature that particular product backlog item is aligning with. And then also maybe at the last, you want to see the work item type. What kind of work item are we talking about? Okay, so we want to see that also. So I'm just going to put that there. We can delete the other ones. So it depends on each team and what you want to customize your cards to be. So I'm just going to delete those last two. And then this says show empty fields. So if any of these fields that we've added, even if it is empty, if nothing has been put in it or it has not been updated with any value, you still want it to be shown on the card. So you're going to enable this, you're going to check this so that it shows you, it still displays those, fields on the card, even if it is empty. So that's the one for the product backlog item. And then we want to do the one for the bugs also. So again, by default, all these are enabled already on it, just like the one for the product backlog item. So again, we want to add just some few fields to it. Bear with me. Okay. So anyone we don't need, don't worry, we'll just delete them out. Again, here you want to see your area path. You want to see your you want to see your created by also. You want to see resolved by. So you want to see, want to know the developer that resolved it. So I think there's resolved by somewhere. Okay, so depending on what you want to see, if you want to know the date it was resolved and all that is up to you. Like I said, depending on what you want to see, you can see resolved date there if you want it. So the time that the developer resolved it, you'll be able to see that there also. If you want to see what else do we want to see now? Do we want to do bot column on this one? We can do bot column because I don't think we've picked bot column before. We want to pick that, we can have that there also. Iteration path also, we want it. But the main thing for me for this one after iteration path is I want to see the severity. So is it critical? Is it medium? Is it low? If you want to see that also, that severity, we'll pick that. And then the last one will just be the type, the work item type, which definitely will tell us is a bug and all that. Again, check this box so that the empty fields are shown and all that. So those are the two that we need to do there. Let's create it and then let's just run one of each just for us to see. So what we've done now, if you have a look at it, you can see that that's the new column. That's in BA done, approved, committed, in dev done. I'm just going to move this to the right. Dev done, you can see in QA done, in UAT done, and then you can see done, which is the last one. That is the bot customized for your team. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why we had to do that inherited process. You can see that we saw a lot of things while we were training out and resetting our board, which if any team had done anything on the main Scrum process, is going to affect every other project that will be created, that has been created, or that will be created later on. And that's why we want everybody to get used to the importance of an inherited process. All work organizations out there who use Azure DevOps have their own inherited process. It's either they have one for the whole organization, or if the whole organization is not using the same process, they just ensure. And that's why I said permission wise, at times they limit permission because they don't want you to create something that would affect other projects. So there might be a specific team in that organization, infrastructure or all that, who are the ones maintaining, the project board and everything and all that. Or if they allow the Scrum Master to do it, they need to be aware that that person knows that at times when they send you on training and all that, just so you know that you know what you're doing. But the training they are sending you to is not to teach you how to set up a project board, because they expect you to know that. It might be a training on the services with Microsoft and all that, so that you don't cost them money by one or two things that you do. Okay, so that's our board created. So like I said, we just want to quickly create. Okay, so before I create those stories, I just want to quickly show us also that navigation backlog we did. You remember when we were doing that, we enabled the epic. So if we had not enabled the epic, if I click on this drop down, you won't see the epic here. Okay, you will just see features and backlog, because we've enabled the epic. Now you can see epic, you can see the feature, and you can see the backlog. So some of the things we did in the settings, I'm just going to be showing us the outcome over here on our project board. So quickly, I'm just going to create one for each of them. So let me just write testing, and okay, let me write developing as the title. So it won't be developing, definitely it will have a particular name. Okay, so just to show us all those things that we've we've put on it. Right now is unassigned to anybody, but you can see created by, because I was the one that created this work item. You can see my name there, created by. You can see the area path. That's the project. Our project as the area path. The work item type is telling you is a product backlog item. Those are the things that we set up in the field earlier on. Okay. And then I'm going to create another one because I'll be moving the two of them together so that we don't waste time too much. So the other one is I'm going to say defect because it's a bug. Okay. So I'll just call this one's name defect. Okay. And then I'm going to click out so that you see. And then again, those are everything created by, resolved by, is not put anybody's name here. The result date is not put anything there yet. Bot column is showing you the bot column is new. It's showing you the severity. By default, it puts the severity at 3, but if it's more than that, if it is critical, you put it at 1. If it's high, you put it at 2. If it's low, you put it at low, and everything. In your ways of working, you will definitely have your bug process that determines when something is critical, what do you do with it? When it's high, what do you do? When it's low, what do you do with it? And all that. And that's that, but it's giving you the severity, and then it's giving you the type of work item it is. It's saying it's a bug, and you can see it's red. And the one for the color for the product backlog item is always blue, but the bug one you can see is red, and you can see the bug. That's why it's called a bug. You can see that bug there. Okay, so we'll be moving them both together so that you can see what they do in each column. I told you that a bug doesn't come to a BA, so I won't even bring it here. I'll just take it all the way to approved. Okay, and what you can see with the state, when it was here, it was in new, and when it's here, you can see that it's moved to approved. Okay, and then for the product backlog item, definitely the BAs will work on it. When the BA starts writing their description for the requirements, the acceptance criteria, this is where it stays. When they finish what they're doing, they move it here. Once they move it here, they get in touch with the PO that they've done what they need to do. This is where the PO comes, check what needs to be done before it is moved into the approved column. Once the team are having their refinement session and all that, these are the stories they are refining. These are the ones that are ready to be worked on. This is where they're doing their refinement. Okay, at sprint planning, when they come for their sprint planning and everything, and they've had their planning and all that, and they are ready to commit to it, they move it to the committed column. Now you can see that the gray color has changed to blue, and it's saying committed. Okay, so there is no way once you commit to it, and then look at it. So if we're working on this bug, also we decide to work on that bug, if we move that in, you can see the bug also changing to committed. Okay, so you can see the way they're changing, and that is based on the customization that we've had to do. That's why those changes are coming up. Now, once we committed, we start the sprint, the developer picks this and puts it here to work on it. Okay, so you can see it has turned to in-dev. Now, the developer needs to assign this to themselves that, oh, I'm the one working on it. So if our developer is Abimbola, okay, so she puts her name there. You can see her name is there and her initial is coming in there. So she's the one working on this. Anybody coming into the space knows that, oh, Abimbola is the one working on that particular work item, because definitely you will have more than one. So excuse me, I just had to take a bit of water there. And you can see that there. So the one for the bug, if we put the bug in in-dev, remember what we said it should do once it's in in-dev is to show active. And that red, because the developer is working on it, and that's what we're seeing here, because that is what we have set it to do. That's what we've configured. That's the customization we've done. Again, depending on who the developer is, let's assume that the developer this time around is whose name can I put now? Okay, let's still assume that Abimbola, because that's for the demo you watched, she was the developer. Okay, so that's what you have. If Abimbola finished what she needed to do on this, now because we've not created an iteration yet, that's why you're not seeing an iteration here. But if this had been sprint 1, let's assume that's our sprint 1, it will be showing, you can see it's showing sprint 1. Okay, and it just moves on. And because it has not been linked to any feature, that's why we have this navigation level. If it has been linked to a particular feature, if maybe this has to do with home page and all that and everything, it will be showing you the name of that feature that it is linked to over here. And remember what we checked when we're doing the customization, that even if a field is empty, we want it to still show it. And you can see all the fields that are empty, that they are still being shown even though they are empty. Okay. And once the developer Abimbola finishes, she puts it in dev done. What she's saying is, I finished working on this. So she doesn't need to call everybody to say I finished. It says, oh, she's put it there, and you can see dev done there. And then if she's finished working on this also, if she brings it in here, what we said it should show us is that result. So what she's saying is, oh, I've resolved this particular defect. Okay, and then the next person that needs to work on it will come in here. The QA will come in and pick this and work, and then they change it, because now it is no longer, it can't remain in Abimbola's name because Abimbola is a developer. And remember, the work item is now in QA. So Rita picks this up to work on. Rita changes to her name. It's assigned to Rita to work on this. She changes to her name. Adetunji, as the QA, picked this to retest because he's the one that created it. Don't mind the fact that it's my name that is there. So Adetunji changes this to his name because he's checking it out and everything. If this was not resolved by Abimbola, let's assume it was resolved by somebody else. Let me pick a name. Let's assume is resolved by, I'm just going to use this person's name, Adebimpe, because Adebimpe is not a member of that team. That's why, even though I've picked that name, you can see that name, okay, it stayed there. Okay, so let's assume that Adebimpe is also a developer, and she's the one that has resolved it. It wasn't Abimbola that resolved it and all that. She's able to put her name there that, okay, I've resolved it. And then that's the key way, testing, retesting this, and then just testing this. If this pass test and all that, they move this into QA done. Okay, you can see QA done there and everything. And then this also comes here. And once it's here, it is closed, because that is what we said it should do, that when it gets to QA done, it should be closed. So actually, once it's closed, once the QA has tested that and it's closed, they can actually move it here. They can move it all the way to done, because they finish what they need to do on it. And you can see that it's changed again from being closed to done. And once it's here, they unassign their name away from it. Okay, so it can change to unassigned because nobody's working on it here anymore. Okay, so they can remove their name from it. And then again, for this one, once the QA finishes, it goes into UAT, so that the BA or the PO, depending on who wants to do UAT, can run their UAT on it. Once they finish the UAT, they move it to UAT done. And then the Scrum Masters might need to just check one or two things. That's why I create the UAT done, because there are times when either the developer or the QA or even the BA themselves and all that, they finished working on the task that is attached to this, because the task will be attached to it at sprint, but they've not closed the task. So if you allow the BAs to just move it straight into your done, you will have tasks that are open, not closed, on a work item, on a product backlog item that has been moved to close. So when it's in UAT done, it's really for you, the Scrum Master, to do the checks to make sure everything is, completed. Once you see a task that is still open, you're asking the person that worked on it or the person that has been assigned to that particular task that, oh, I noticed the task is open on this story, even though it's in UAT done. And then the person can say, oh, I forgot it. That was why. Oh, I've not done that testing. I don't know why it even went into UAT in the first place. And then that is moved back. So what you're doing as a Scrum Master is to check that everything that needs to be done has actually been carried out before that story gets to done, so that no steps is missed in any way. And then what that helps us to do is not to release a product that has a defect, even though the QA would have picked it. But like I said, it could have been mixed up that the QA has not done one thing or the other. I didn't even know how we got into UAT in the first place and everything and all that. So the board administrator. You are tracking the workflow as it's going on, and that is why you're the one that created, and sets the board to suit the team member. But let's assume everything is, okay the way it is and all that. Once it's in UAC, you've checked all the stories are closed, everything is done and all that, and then you move it to done. Again, once it's in done, you are assigning it from Rita, because Rita, nobody's working on it any longer. Now, why we created that layout that we have here is what helps us when we come to, oh, I want to know who works on it, because it's in done now. If there's any query coming on it, we've unassigned, and you need to know, this information will help you to know who worked on it. We'll be able to know that, oh, the person that created the story is Uzo. That's the BA that created the story. You will know that, oh, the developer that worked on it was Abimbola, and then the Rita is the one that carried out the tests on it. Okay, so because it's in the completed column or the done column, depending on what the team decides to call that, and we've unassigned it. But like I said, if you have any queries on it or anything and everything like that, you're able to go on the story itself and find out the name of the people or the person that worked on it. So this gives kind of a record also. So let's assume that it wasn't that wasn't done and everything. Another place you can pick your information from, let's assume that this layout was not done, is if you go to the history. So every story has an history. You can see the people, because I was the one that was moving it all the way. That's why it has my name all through. The date it was moved, you can see the date it was moved. It will have everything there also. And then here it gives you the time. So it tracks everything that is being done. It gives us the time when it was changed from new to active. Everything is able to track it. You can see the graph there that is tracking whatever has been done. The history will give you that, even though you don't have, like I said, the names and everything stated here. And then once that is done, that is closed and all that. So that's how your workflow moves on your board from the start all the way to when it's done, when it's finished. Quickly, I'm going to go to, I think the next thing we wanted to see is how you create your um, dashboard. So on the dashboard, we won't be able to see much. And why we won't be able to see much is because we don't have we're not in sprint or anything yet. Okay, so but for you to set up your dashboard, what you do is you click on add a widget, and what you do on your dashboard is where you create your metrics, the metrics that you use in measuring what is being done, the metrics you use in tracking progress of work, what has been done versus what has been planned versus what is completed, or what we plan to do, what is remaining and everything. Your burn down chart, your velocity chart, it's on your dashboard that you create that. Okay, so once you click on create the dashboard, you will have this canvas, so to say. And then on the left or the right here, you will have the widgets that you're meant to add. So we can add widgets now, but it don't show anything because we're not in sprint yet. But just to show you how it is done and what you might need to add. So you can add a burn down. If you click on the burn down, it highlights it. Highlighting it doesn't mean it is added already. So once it's highlighted, you now click on add. Okay, so you can see that adds that to it. If you want a burn up also, you click on burn up, you add it. So this is how you add your widgets. Okay, depending on what you want to see, the QAs can add chart for test plan, chart for work item that is being done. But the basic ones that are normally added to your dashboard are the ones that I'm just going to click on for learning purpose for us. Okay, so that is a kind of a burn down. This is another one, a sprint burn down. Can add that to it. Your sprint goal, you can add the widget for your sprint goal to it. Your capacity, sprint capacity, if you want to see it there, you can add that one also to it. Sprint overview, where are we with things, to give you just an overview of where you are and everything. You're able to add that. If you want to see your team members also, Yes, you can put that there also. And then your velocity. Don't forget that is one of the key metrics in Scrum. So you put that there also. Okay, and once that is done, you click done editing. It closes up that right panel, and then you're able to see the things that you have created. Now, like I said, you're seeing all these line and all that because we're not in sprint yet. No, nothing has been created and all that and everything. That's why you're seeing that. Even if you're in sprint, you still need to configure. And for you to configure anything, I think your mentors will take you through that. Is to click on the ellipses here, and you're able to click on configure, and then it gives you information here. Once you bear with me, yeah, once you put the information here, what do you want to configure? Is it a backlog item? Is it your product backlog item? So if it's a backlog item you want to configure, you leave it there. If it's a work item type you want to configure, you come here, you click work item type, you do your drop down, and then you can go and pick your product backlog item. Okay, so this also helps you to be specific and filter out what you want to see on your chart. That's what you're creating with this. And then once you finish what you're doing, you set the date, you're able to put the sprint in, you set the date, and then you click. Okay, and then it gives you the information. But like I said, because there's nothing on our board now, we're not in sprint or anything. That's why it's showing this just the flat line that you can see at the bottom. And then also because we didn't put there's no sprint goal. Yeah, you can see no goal set yet. That's why it's putting that. But one thing you can see that, which is because we've added the data onto the board, is the team members. You can see all the initial for your team members there. So that's how you create, you add your charts to your dashboard. Quickly, also, just going to go into the wiki just to show us what the wiki is. So you create the project wiki. So your project wiki is like your library where you store documents, where is a central place, okay, where you store documents, where you store information about the project, your ways of working, documents, you put it there. On your wiki is where you put all those, okay? So you can create the name for your wiki. You can put your project name as the name for your wiki, okay? So for this one, we can say our project is Feb 2020. I just call it project information. Okay. With me. So you can see two kind of columns here. So that's the first section. That's kind of a back end, and this is kind of a front end. So whatever I type here, if I say this, once you're typing at the back, you can see the information going going to the front. And once you're done with that, you click save. Okay, and close. So if I close, the one where I'm typing at the back is gone, and then the one in the front shows you the information. So you can see that that's the first one saying that Feb 2025 internship project information gives you that. If you want to write more, that's fine. And if you want to have sub pages on your wiki, it's either you come to the bottom here and you do new page, and then it starts new page. So if you want this to be your standard practice, you can put standard team practices or standard team process, depending on what you want to call it. Okay. And then just give it some few information that over here is right. Again, save. close, and you have that there. And then you can now create underneath that sub pages. So when you create your sub pages, it goes in. So this could be your development process. You can create that. Can create that. You can see that it's going under the standard. If you want to create another one for your definition of done, you can put that there. Okay, put information in it, save it, close it. Okay, you can do that. I'm just going to open one and show us that we can also attach documents. So okay, if you want to do anything to it, you have to edit. So you can see that you can attach documents, you can create a table, you can do bullet points, you can do numbering on it and everything. You can even add a link to it. Okay, so you can put all those in here and everything, save and close it. Like I said, your wiki is like the team's library where your team comes to and have information. If you've gotten very good knowledge of some information, some read-ups that can help your team to, gain more knowledge, develop knowledge about Scrum and Agile more and everything. On the wiki is where you put all the information from them. It's a centralized place that every member of the team that is on your project can get to. Even teams that are not on your project at times can come and learn, through your wiki and all that. So you have that. That's how you create your wiki and add page to it as you go along. And then if you need to edit anything, just click on edit on the top right corner here, able to edit, save it and close it again. So quickly, the last thing that we want to quickly go to is your retrospective board. So again, if we go to retrospective, underneath your board, that's where you have all these. That's where you have your board, you have your sprint, you have your retrospective. So you can see that your okay, so I'm not sure why it's saying this, but on a normal day is meant to allow us to create the retrospective board. Okay, I'm not going to subscribe. I think I would allow me please note that we need to reach out to Deji on this one. Okay, so you're able to create also your retrospective and all that. Okay, so that's how you do it. But don't worry, with the retrospective, your mentors will put you through what you need to do. That's fine. Or just watch the okay, so if you watch the workshop, you won't be able to get that, but you create your retrospective also. So that's basically the few things that we just need to touch on tonight. So any question? What I'm going to do is I'm not going to stop sharing my screen in case any question you have has to do with what I've done on the board so that I can just, go back to where your question is related to and be able to provide you with response. Thank you so much, everyone. Any questions, please? Oh, I love it when there are no questions.
Not really a question, but a comment.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
My God, it seems there is a lot of complexity due to the pace I'm trying to capture it. A lot of things to be done, setting. Yeah, for a QA, I want to know how to go about because there are a lot of things I find complex here. But I just believe with time, I will and hands-on using it, I'll get proficient in it. But
Okay.
I don't know if we have some other class to support this or something like to make up for this aside from the video on
Okay.
the
So the
platform. Do
first
we
thing I
have any
was
other
going to
time we can?
yeah. The first thing I was going to ask you when you started talking was what's your role? And I love the fact that you said I would have loved it if you're a Scrum Master because you will enjoy it, but you're a QA. Okay, so during the introduction of the internship and all that, we did say that you will have mentors to help you through. So most of your meetings, reach out to your mentors, invite them to your meetings and all that. Okay, so once you're using it, we want you to get your hands dirty. Try using it. When you make mistakes, they will put you through. So they will be there to help you. Don't worry. Okay. For QA, definitely is the Scrum Master that is going to set up the board. Your Scrum Masters would have workshops with me, and their mentors will put them through what they don't understand, so that by the time they are coming to you as the team member, their role is to also coach you and help you to understand and familiarize yourself with the board. While we've allowed everybody to be part of this session, is there are some sessions you'll be having with your mentors and your tutors also, that they will be running from the Azure board itself. Now, if you don't have that shared understanding of it initially, it might throw you kind of, or you might get lost in what they're showing you, because you're wondering, oh, you're teaching me about this. Why are you showing me on this place? What is this place and everything? That's why we give you kind of a robust, sort to say, understanding of the Azure board, because like I said, it's your collaboration tool with other members of your team. Okay. But don't worry, even as a Scrum Master, don't worry. It looks as if it was magic. When I was where you are today, it looks as if I was looking at magic. I didn't even try to do it while I was being taught. I just enjoyed the teaching, and then I watched the video over and over and over again. One good thing with Microsoft and Azure DevOps is it has a free version. So you can decide to pick up this video, create your own Azure DevOps, do one or two things that we've done and everything and all that, in order for you to familiarize yourself with it. I'm talking about the Scrum Masters now, even the you as a QA. So I created one for myself, personally for myself, which Azure DevOps gives you the right to do. There's a free version that you can use. And then what I was putting on it are the things I want to do daily. I was creating user stories to say things like, oh, I need to go to the market, I need to do this and that and everything, just to familiarize myself with it. I use it. It became kind of my digital diary. And while I was doing that, all I wanted to do was learn how it works, learn, all the different things and everything. And that's the best way. You can learn things, practice, 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 watch the video again of the things you don't understand and everything and all that and everything, and be able to, keep working at it. And like I said, you have mentors that will work with you. The things you don't understand, they will put you through. And it's not limited to just the Azure DevOps setup. Every step of the way in your internship, you have your mentors to put you through things that you don't understand. However, like I always put a disclaimer out, don't expect them to spoon feed you. You learn better when you try and you make mistake and somebody corrects you, rather than the person helping you to do it. You get used to that and you won't be able to, pick up the things. So do it first, make your mistakes, and then let them help you and put you through what you need to do. But please, for the Scrum Masters, please watch the video. We don't want you to have the permission rights to
Right,
do
very
things,
well.
and then
Thank
you're
you.
making mistakes. Yeah. Thank you. Opayemi.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. All right. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you for the session. But then I'm just a bit curious. Just like Stanley, at first I was going to be a Scrum Master, but I changed my mind lately, and so I'm going to be a QA. But then I'm just curious, how long does it take to set up this board?
It
Like in
doesn't take long.
reality?
It doesn't take long at all. As you can see, what we just did, that was why we went through the practical aspect of it. It doesn't take
Yeah, but I
maybe,
mean, like if you have like a real project in real life, that's what I mean.
yeah, even in real life, yeah, it doesn't take you long. So let's assume you've been put on a project and it's a new project. You're the one that needs, like I said, you walk out there, you join a team, they have a project board
Mm,
already. So all this information is just to give you basic knowledge of how you can maneuver yourself on the board
mm,
without start jumping to ask your team members, please, how do I get to this place? You don't want to do that, because already they
mm,
know that the person that is coming is experiencing all those things. So you don't want to give the vibe that you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So
mm,
that's why we've
mm,
given this basic knowledge. But even if you're the one setting up the board for your team, I assure you, by the time you finish the internship, the time for your internship and all that, all the Scrum Masters on this project, would be able to set up their project, but it's not that long. And that's why I advise that you have your own personal one that would help you to be able to, get better at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, in the absence of any other questions, Demisola, I'm okay for you to stop recording.